Hello, welcome to Bushcast. This is Yusuf. I'm starting a podcast. The following is going to be a new podcast, and I'm excited to introduce Jandamara. He's an amazing artist and a very strong, peaceful warrior. I hope you enjoy this, and I hope I'll have more coming. The recording was on September 11, 2023. Enjoy.
Yeah, I always love to share with an acknowledgement. No one owns the stars, the sun, the ocean, the dirt. We all belong to that, and in that belonging, the Gubbi Gubbi Kabi Kabi mob have looked after and lived in relationship for over 2,000 generations, with ceremony, with dance, with song, with kinship, relationship, and understanding that this natural law, Lore, is that identity. It isn't it is who we are. It is who we are on the fundamental level, universal level of all beings on this planet. So when I bring these sticks together, which are made from the mulga wood on this country here, you could say they're just sticks. And when they come together, it's just noise. And the words that I'm speaking now are just words. But you get to that level where how far do you take it? That's just a song. That's just a child. That's just that. It's the intention behind it, and the intention why I bring these sticks together is to announce myself and respectfully honour the footprints that we sit in, or the mum prints, our bottom that we sit in, that have been here for thousands of generations, as we, as co-custodians with the original traditional mob here, walk with sacred reverence. So I acknowledge the Gubbi Gubbi Kabi Kabi mob as the traditional custodians that have walked on, and held ceremony here for thousands of generations, and kept that law alive and abundant for many of us to enjoy and have relationship with today. Your way. And yeah, it's good to, as I just said, with the arm with Bobby, talk about that real stuff, and as we know, there's a lot of what I wish to share and feel drawn to share is, that there's so much divisiveness, and that's the true damage that's happening through not only this but everything. It's the thing that keeps us so fragmented and disjointed and focused on over here, this stuff, while they're doing all of this, and they, and us. It's still an us and them, it seems, but it is a collective shadow that we've kind of, we're participating in. So these certain archetypes have so much seeming power over our lives. We can create our worlds as fringe dwellers outside of that. But there is a big, obviously, global awakening, which this voice or the jazz.
Thanks to COVID.
That's right, hey.
It was the best thing happened.
Oh, isn't it, man?
Because, otherwise, I came from a very, I was never a rebel.
Yes.
I listened to your podcast, and it was very, very, beautiful in that you were living for what you saw, what you dealt with, and you were in touch with that, and maybe reflected in some of it, what you said, sort of reflecting on that and connecting it. But I was opposite. I was just a gullible, just people knew what's going on. It's like, teach me.
Yes.
I don't know what's going on. Teach me.
Yeah.
But
And that came later in life for you to
well,
see through that veil.
well, I received techniques for doing meditation like beginning of '79. I was interested in from '78. So that sort of showed me something within that I tapped into,
Yes.
and I've been practicing, since then, just
Yes.
like in most of my life.
Yes.
So even though I've worked for corporate organization, and basically it was very much the scene that you see now, where everybody's got to go with the virtue signaling. Is this right? Is this not
Yes.
right?
Yes.
It's like, oh, you better say this way.
That's right,
You
you'll be
know,
cancelled.
don't say your own. Don't
That's
unless
right.
it goes along with whatever they're trying to do.
Narrative.
It just gets cancelled.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I grew up in that. But again, I was like, I'm trying to do a job, trying to make money, and this is how you do that: is you follow the process,
Yes.
and you apply it, and until I came here, I wanted to slow down, but I noticed everybody's just the same speed. For the longest
Yes.
time, I noticed it's never good enough for people, because I used to work on computers when they didn't have computer. It was word processors,
That's
the whole
right.
computer.
That's right.
So you're dedicated to do one thing, and then with time, you have one computer that does word processing and all kind of things, and still, there isn't enough time,
Yes.
which really was really nice to read. Is it Talk in the Sand, or there's
Oh, it's Sand Talk.
Sand Talk?
Yes.
Very
That's
beautiful,
right.
and it really
Tyson Chocopura, yeah. Beautiful.
gives you the essence of it. Like, yeah, if the you know your ancestors
Yes.
couldn't relate to time, to
Yes.
owning and all that, which
That's
is
right. Such a foreign, abstract culture, which there's still their psyche's trying to assimilation into that, And it's like there's still not a like a jarring of their system. Hence, I share in here the highest rates of suicide in the entire world, and the highest rates of incarceration reflect that. Not able to get with the program, but really trying to drink that Coke and get together somehow, some way, some way fit in. When I say drink Coke, trying to behave as Western society would like them to fall into line, to be, so they can feel like they don't have to go against that grain continually. But yet every urge in them's like, hey, it's just this moment. But any time they go to sink into that and just be into this moment, then from there they're reminded, hey, no, you've got to get from A to B all the time. Don't take time. What's this society, Take a Codral cold. Don't take time to heal or rest when your body's unwell. Take something to keep going. Live on caffeine. Keep going every day, every moment. And yet it's such a contrast to the paradox of that paradigm of, this is it. You've arrived. Chop wood, carry water. Go hunt. Go gather. But other than that, this is the moment.
you are where you're at. I mean, that's something I've shared with my son and a few others. Like, there's anything off, just remember your compass is, you've got everything.
Yes.
You don't need to go somewhere for it to happen, or you don't need to do it. You've
That's
got
right.
everything. But yeah, it's the suicide, even later years. I mean, it's around the world. It's everybody's reaching out, but I guess all the indicators are to point somewhere else versus you got it. It's okay. It's like find just if you are content with your own self,
Yes.
then the rest should be the icing kind of thing.
That's right, And it's wallpaper, It's like the real reality is not, as that veil thinnens and lessens, and you're able to immerse more into the truth of who we really are in identity imbued. And these external things are all a reflection of our inner landscape. And the more we immerse in that alignment, that symbiosis where the internal and external meet in a beautiful flow, as opposed to a stagnant pond where you've got your rocks build up and you see yourself as this separate entity outside of it. But when you align with that flow internally and externally, as mob here, we're all mob, we're all tribal people. As we all immerse ourselves back into that, we're reminded that we're part of that greater collective, and these traumas that we live in, and this psychological bonding to these traumas, the very things that's killing us, but the very thing that many of us are struggling to try and live in a world where the paradigm is that these things are our identity, our value, our worth, our sense of self. I have this stuff, I have this ownership, I have this, but yet they're the very things that keep us in such traumatic state of being. And yet we believe we have choice because we have a thin veneer of this choice. We have a choice to drive a car to the shop. But in driving that car, that again separates us. The very things, having a lighter, having a light, the life of convenience that has robbed us of relationship, which is our true identity, and understanding that nothing exists on its own or outside of itself. And yet we, even the issue we'll delve into, the issue of the voice is, again, a divisive thing, and a more fragmented, disjointed, diluted representation of who we are told we are, but internally.
So is the voice one segment? Or I read the Uluru from the heart.
Yes.
And I must say, a lot of stuff sort of gets you confused.
Yes.
You want to do the right thing.
Yes.
For me, the right thing is we cannot understand a culture unless we're within that culture.
Yes.
I can't tell you how you should live your culture. I can respect what you all do. If I'm a guest, I'll be very respectful to the environment. This is, if I'm having a treaty with you, like, hey, this is my place, this is your place.
Yes.
Your world is your world.
Yes.
So it felt very strange. How is it that people are not from the culture should vote on something that impacts that
And
culture?
making decisions, that's right. It's that paternalistic. But they see that for mob, they were seen, Darwin classed them as the most de-advanced people on the planet, de-evolved people on the planet in his theory of evolution. In that's looking from the perspective of a lens that sees that a wheel and all of these things are progression. It started with a wheel, and then it was that one person who had a hoe, and then it was that person down the street who had a tractor, and they were moving in a direction that was making things easier on one level, but more separated and detracted from your relationship to country, community on another level. And the hierarchy, that one that had the tractor, he's got to be up there because he's got something that he can do that no one else can. Rather than, this tractor's all of ours, let's come together and use this. But mob, they didn't invent that wheel. They didn't need that wheel to make a wheelbarrow to get all those rocks from the quarry and then make a platform or a house to then sit in and look over the water and keep clean every day and maintain. They sit there, look over that water. They're at home. Back in the 1920s and 30s, and they were given mob houses, on the pretense that they give up their ways. That it was illegal for them to, if they accepted these houses and things, They were not allowed to speak their language, practice their songs, ceremonies. You got to assimilate.
Yeah.
But they started ripping up the wood, and burning the houses, the walls, and there's beautiful space here, burning down the walls, and it's like, and the floorboards, and people from European perspective were like, "What the hell are you doing? We give you
Yeah.
a house." Their value system was like,
But it's like two cultures that cannot relate.
"That's right.
It's like they think you're not civilized because you're not acting like them.
That's right."
And what's wrong with you? You're not acting like them. And that's, I mean, till today, it's really unfortunate. Even though we claim we're not really, we claim that everybody's equal. However, that's not how we treat each other.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah.
And it is a thing of, it's okay to see that we don't live alike or see alike. But when the kookaburra goes into the forest and sees the crow and the lyrebird and the butcherbird, and that crow starts, that kookaburra starts telling that crow it's got to sing like them, or it's got to fly like them, or hunt like them, that's when you've got a problem,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Our difference is beauty. That's the symphony. But, getting back to that, when they burned them floorboards, and they were like, "Why you want to take us from our family? There's our tree, this our aunties here, not only in our kinship community, this tree, our uncle, this bird is our nephew. We're in relationship all the time. These stars are our roof. You take us from this, we are nothing. We are empty void. Why you want to make us rumma, crazy one, where we live, hide away, and we put these things on our feet where we no longer have direct relationship. Today it's so foreign. Yet if you walked out, and I use this analogy because it's pretty, nature, the natural law, LORE, is always indicating to us how far we've come from relationship, the internal and the external out of alignment. When you see a bird in a tree, and if you imagine it having an auctioning its nest with, a group of other birds around it, you'd look at that, or a fish in water and it's got a group of fish around auctioning its section of the pond. You go, that's bloody crazy. But yet that's the social norm and reality that reflects the level of trauma that we've all capitulated or accepted to varying degrees. And we're coming back to realizing, I think through this awakening, which is, really uncomfortable for many of us that have found comfort in our trauma.
Do you mean awakening because of the voice, COVID, or just this period of time?
All of it. It's been building up, but this period of time is really accelerating,
Mm-hmm.
and I feel very.
I think everybody feels it.
Intently. Hey, it is lifting the veil. People are getting to see the true corruption, the true insidious nature of this true virus. And I don't mean to say microorganisms or the virus that has kept us in such bondage for so long that we've accepted. You hand thousands of dollars to a 2-year-old. You grab that and play with it for a moment, put it down, walk away. Yet you hand it to a 20-year-old, they would be like, "No way, I'm letting go of this." That 2-year-old is living in more of reality than we're shaping them into, which is, a bit of this is a mental prisonscape of slavery, a mental prisonscape of bondage that, as Bob Marley said, emancipate ourselves from mental slavery.
Yeah.
Because this is what the voice and other things are banking on, is that many are still in this bondage, because without that we get to realize why we have to have these systems of stagnicity. As I said, these systems that don't align with the natural law, that truly sustain us. They are systems of death. They are systems that don't expand, they contract. And they contract to the point where they squeeze the life out of us.
I think a lot of it is being blinded by arrogance. The more we figure out something or we do something, we like to protect it, whatever, and we think it's the it's you know it's more valuable than whatever because it's.
Yeah.
But then you see like with First Nation in Australia, it's like they've been around for so long. You had other civilizations who built like the Great Wall,
Yes.
the pyramids,
Yes.
but they were just content with the land. I loved your podcast about your connection with the land,
Yes.
and it just brings a lot of beauty. But it's very difficult for modern man to relate to anything beautiful you spell out because they won't feel it.
Yes. There's such a thick, heavy, dense veil of that mental prisonscape. They look at the sky and no longer see it. What they see is the projection. I see it. You get given a map, a paper map, or you could go your Navman or whatever, but say a paper map. They give you this one and they go, this is life. Yet it's nothing like the terrain. It might be a mental projected reality on a piece of paper of what is actually walking the land is like. Oh, this is where that place is, and it's a very sterile, empty, that's what I mean, a void. There's this representation, but the whole essence of it is not there. Walking on country is not that map, and yet this map is what we generally live in because we've been handed it and indoctrinated from birth or in the womb, and we come into this map and we're going, oh shit, this, we know something's not right in our spirit. And then when we walk on the land, living life on, I don't mean just on country, but living it in its truest expression of those true reference points, wake up with the sun, go to sleep in the evening, rather than these things that we have that keep us, this roadmap is real, trying to convince us. Realize that's those two worlds coming into constant, conflict often at times, because how do you align with living in the moment when you wear a watch that tells you got to be at that place and this one, and we're all part of it. I'm part of it, We're all part of the solution, but we're all part of the problem as well. And it's as you said, it's so hard for modern man to just step back into it. Many of us are really trying to extract ourselves as much as possible from the entanglement to live a simpler, more connected, nourishing, vibrant life that we know is health.
I don't think anybody's is going to work on us living that.
Yeah.
I think it's interesting because I mean, from that side of things, I think it'll only get worse with the direction we're going. And again, thank God that things are brewing so hard. And the reason I'm saying that is like you see with a lot of even inventions or expertise as far as engineering or whatever. I believe, when I was younger, people knew a lot more because they had to have the experience.
Yeah.
Now you get to be specialist in one little tiny thing.
Yes.
You master that thing. So everybody, everyone has got their own little process that they got to do. And once we nail down all the processes, then it's supposed to work.
Yeah.
Forget about you. Forget about your empowerment to make a judgment call.
That's right.
If your judgment call is outside of that certification of blah, 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 then you're out.
Yes.
So it doesn't help. It doesn't help. I mean, with COVID, it was a joke.
Yeah.
What the doctors couldn't tell you what is going on, except take the vaccine.
Yes.
It's like, since when did we get sick and you shouldn't be treating it? You're not allowed to treat it.
Yes.
For the longest time, I mean, now they use some drugs, but in the beginning, nobody would touch you.
Yes, and anybody that spoke outside it,
which is crazy.
vilified, and
This is not feasible. I mean,
yeah,
it's I'm amazed till today. They're still saying stuff about it. That's
surreal, eh? It's so surreal.
crazy.
On one level, they're saying, "Oh, it's now it can be treated with garlic and, obviously ivermectin, hydroxychloroquine, these that were so suppressed. It was made illegal in Queensland. If you were to use ivermectin, you could be arrested, like this is one of the most safest under the FDA, or safest medications that you could ever use, yet it was made illegal.
Yeah,
Should
course.
that not be transparent?
Ivermectin won the Nobel Prize for dealing with parasites and
right.
viral dealing with viral stuff.
That's right.
But you can't use it with COVID. It's a different story.
And on another level, they're going, it's the worst thing in the world. Yet they put out the statistics, 99.997 by their experts, and then by what I see is the true scientists that have, gotten their documentation and publications over and over, being discredited for saying, no, these things have more, this vaccine or this jab, it's not even a vaccine, but this is not something we should be going for. But yet, as you said, anyone that spoke out against that was vilified and crushed, and they had their careers and fact checkers and blah, 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 all part of the narrative. But it shows you how deeply we've truly relinquished our sovereignty to this. And we could say it's them. And yes, the key players, many of them, BlackRock, Vanguard, World Economic Forum, Klaus Schwab, Bill Gates, all the governmental bodies and big pharma are all part of that. But it's that collective shadow. They don't have any power if we don't give it to them. And the thing is, we often are led to believe that we're insignificant as an individual, which we're part of a collective field. I don't know.
Unfortunately, with propaganda, they make us work against each other in a way.
Yes.
I think the most shameful thing, and it's around the world, not just Australia, is the government needs to have better ears, better senses if they're serving the people. And they seem to be giving a blind eye to whatever it is that they don't want to face.
Yes.
And there is no process in which, hey, this is important to us. You got to address it. I mean, I'm blown away with the Canada. I'm a bit cold here. I don't know why. I don't need a jacket, but anyhow. Then Canada, they had like the truckers went up north, went to the convoy went there, and there were thousands of people along the road.
Yeah.
Now, it doesn't take a clever man to think a lot of people feel the same way. It's not the truckers.
Yes.
It's not those people who showed up. You can see from the support. It's not about them. That the people are talking.
Right.
But hey, they made a little fire over there. Let's get them for that. Oh, they blow the horn. It's like you're trying your best not to hear, not to understand.
Right.
And this showed how it is. But that's what we have everywhere.
Right.
Where you have government that's too busy to deal with things, you have to jump hoops, and you're hardly heard.
Right.
And then you need to deal with something, then you add more bureaucracy, pay yet another more money to deal with something that's not really dealing with what, with the main issue. Is people are not here. It's like with The Voice.
Yeah.
If they really cared about the First Nation,
yes,
they give them bigger ears.
And they go out to all those communities, because it's not just
It's
the
not
select.
13, right?
The select. That's right.
That's what I brought this here, just to look at it.
500 different. That's just what's documented. 500 different tribal areas. Like, how do you?
And nobody is supposed to talk for another mob.
No,
a mob doesn't talk for another.
How does France speak for Germany or Turkey speak for Spain? But they
don't.
They want to homogenize it because they want to simplify it because they have an objective.
Well, that's what they're doing with. I mean, they went Europe. They've changed from francs for France, marks for Germany to now the Euros.
Yes.
You know,
Yes.
and what is really interesting is the whole simulation of wanting to have one type of people. It's just now it's falling apart.
Homogenization, that's
Yeah,
right.
it's falling apart. The French, the Germans,
Yes.
they all now. Russia's bad. China is bad.
Yes.
It's just creating a lot of hatred towards race.
That's
They
right.
don't like the traditional. You know, if you have a civilization that's traditional and they're together, they like to break that.
That culture, that's
They
right.
can't understand it.
That's right.
You have to be, whoever we don't understand, that means they're handicapped.
Yes.
You know, they're not really.
But you can see transparently the direction they're taking us. It's like a fish being guided further and further from water. Yet the truth is, the more they suppress it, the more money they throw at it, the more they try to, coerce and persuade and do all this trickery, the more they push that ball under the water. And you know what happens, the further you push that, the more momentum it jumps up and springs out of the water. And that's the contrast, the paradox of what I see and feel and witness happening at the moment. So they need to push and they need to coerce and they need to try and bribe and do all they can. So it helps us to wake up, because it's almost like this, talk about fires, we know about these, they're not natural disasters, there's a lot going on. But anyway,
Isn't it amazing?
Isn't it amazing,
In Hawaii, it's like.
Yet it can burn cars,
Terrible.
but yet trees are still standing there right beside the cars that won't burn incinerated. But yet these cars, Anyway, so...
They showed up like 10 days later.
And no alarms went off.
And then they say, the leaders showed up 10 days later. And then it's like, this happened. And the state wants to take the land.
That's right.
So they can do something with it.
Well, the smart cities, naturally, and obviously pushing. But if they don't push, many of us become complacent. If we don't get pushed to that precipice, like I noticed how many from our community here on the coast and around, rallies, now they still have some, and there's like 100 people, maybe 200. There was 8,500 at Cotton Tree at one point, just from our community. There was 700,000 in Melbourne and, something like 300,000 in Brisbane or more. Like, people came and really were pushed to that precipice because of the absolute contrast of seeing the shit, the absolute shit that we all kind of go, fuck, that's just part of it. You just put up with it on a slight level, and then you start getting it so much you get really like this whole work thing. Right? I'm happy to contribute. Many of my beautiful brothers and sisters and friends that are happy to contribute. We're hard-working people. It's a natural part to support each other. But this slavery bond, where if you don't you don't have a house, you don't have to eat, you don't have these things that are part of our birthright, naturally, in that ownership. These paradigms that on one level are a seeming reality at the moment, are being so pushed to the precipice now to get us to go, hey, no more, so that ball comes further up and our consciousness goes, there's got to be... should the biomarkers of our society not be on how much we define ourselves outside of others by our wealth, our materials, our I'm Dr. such and such, but more by how well we are, our health, Do you think the rates of mental and emotional and physical illness are getting better? They're skyrocketing because
it's a very sickly society.
Reflects. That's right. Reflects
that.
If
you don't mind, sorry to interrupt. I better get a jacket.
Go for it,
I'm
brother.
shivering. Sorry. I had to.
No, that's all good, man.
Yeah, it is like you said. It's people don't see where they're going, where they've been, and where they are. Are things getting better? We're just getting sickly and sickly and sickly. and now we're doing body manipulation. You know,
Yeah.
it's a weird place. But it's like I said, you know, COVID is a blessing because it's a when you recommend vitamin C and you know basic things for your immune system, and people criticize you that you're not being scientific.
Yes.
You see that, wow, we've already been educated,
That's right.
all of us. We've
Right.
learned that in school. How come all that doesn't mean anything? And it's the new science that means something,
Yes.
you know?
New
It's just
science
weird.
of obedience. And, you know, like, look at it all through history.
Science of obedience.
Right. It is, isn't it? Hey, the narrative. You know, the witches were burnt. The pagans were destroyed. You know, like, not destroyed, but they were so... They had to work underground. You know, anything of connection with nature. That's why I say a virus, because it's not our natural state. But something came in at some point in the collective field to disassociate from that relationship, and it grew to the point where it became like mold on bread. It's consumed a lot of the loaf now. And we go, man, if we keep heading in this direction, it's not Mother Nature that you need to worry about. That one there's got consciousness beyond your mental projected ego reality that you're at some top of some hierarchy. Mother Nature will go, fuck you, see you later, you're gone, blimp, bye. There's 10,000 years of ice age or, you know, solar flares or whatever. But it's like this whole thing of anything to do with relationship with nature, you know, alternative medicine or alternative. This is the foundation of who we really are. This is the stuff that removes those rocks that we make as stagnicity to allow us to flow. Mob here on this land, around here, the Gubbi Gubbi, Kabi Kabi, all over this country, and I'm sure all over the globe. It was documented by Westerners, and it was documented by our mob. They never had no sickness, no colds, no flus, no tooth decay, no things like heart disease, diabetes, of course. But they had no jails for crime rates. They had no known suicide. They had none of this stuff that we have as such a prevalent social norm acceptance of this is just the way it is. I mean, you take it even 100 years ago, heart disease and things like that were very rare, you know, and you died, obviously our elders died, not just mob here, elders of anyone living on this land here was died of things in a rare case. You mainly died in your sleep or something. But cancer now, who do you see that doesn't get cancer or head in that direction? Or a heart disease? And yet, we call this progress. We're advanced beings. How advanced do you become? You don't realise that you're just killing everything about life within and without. And, you know, it's like, it's become so clear now that even a lot in the mainstream are going, holy wow, I can see this. I never could see it before. I was just part in that.
See what exactly?
Yeah.
Recognizing, you mean?
Yes, recognizing the bondage, the slavery, I'm in a slavery system. I'm not free. I have a thin veneer of illusion, and as I say, we create pathways to have a bit more of that expansion in our lives. But you know, this is not serving. This is not a system of love and support and care. That, you know, we've got these words now where we say thank you, gratitude, you know, and all these words that when you step outside of those behaviours, you have to create words to express these behaviours. But when you live in that world, you don't have these words. No mob. There's no language in mob. All the nation, well, all the ones that I know of in the there's no words for thank you. No words for, you know, please, because you live in that state of sacred reverence. I'm not to say that mob here never had their issues, but you know, there's obviously a natural alignment with something when you don't have all these biomarkers that tell you you're heading in the wrong direction. You're a fish. Don't keep swimming further from water. Come back. Realise that something's going wrong when you have to stick tubes and take pills and things to keep your body alive because you're falling apart. You're dying here.
Yeah, it was just so yesterday or the day before, something about testing this man-made, was it fruit or vegetable, in a lab. And it's like, it really astounds me that, you know, glyphosate is like a mainstream thing. So many, you know, colors, preservatives, pollution.
Yes.
And, you know, it's just, you know, and we're going further and further. We'll be like opening a drawer, taking a pill, and that'll be your dinner or whatever. And
Yes.
especially you're not going to be sick.
Yes.
You expect that society is going to be happy.
Or genetically modified bugs and,
Yeah.
you know, and geoengineered mosquitoes. And
That will vaccinate, will put like...
that's right. And it's like blocking out the sun.
Oh, that's right. I
Like-
mean, what we fiddle around with is just so wrong. You know, the what do you call them? Rain seeding?
Yes, the cloud seeding. That's right. And you go, talk about these things. How long is it until people go, it's really happening, rather than you conspiracy theorists, you know? And like people that often label conspiracy, I'm not to say on various extremes, but on a really realist level, go, this is, and then within 6 months, it shows they are doing this
it's
stuff.
a spoiler.
That's right.
It's a spoiler
Isn't
of
it?
what's coming. But I mean, they don't. You know, it's definitely hidden because it'll be stopped in its track if it becomes so obvious. But yeah, they sneak it until it's almost. Yeah, everybody knows that. It's you know, even though they're saying it's not true, everybody knows that. But then, after a while, it is.
Yes.
You know, and then it formally is. You know, they have it down. You know, psychologically how they
do, eh?
yeah, it's pretty insane.
It's like a hypnotism, great big, cognitive hypnotism and cognitive dissonance that anyone could believe that the government are doing anything but looking after their welfare, or these systems where it's education, pharma, you know, law enforcement, are all centralised around these power structures of, you know, profit, and you are a commodity. Your birth certificate, you know, straw man, you know, all of that is just, you from the day you're born, you become a commodity on the share market of their profitable demise of our essence of living. Yeah.
So how do you see the solution if you have the magic wand? Where would you start?
Well, you know, we've been really duped, as I say, on many levels to believe concrete structures of thought patterns and beliefs which blinker us to then project that reality and add to that collective vision in front of us. But the thing is, we must purge individually this out of us. And when I say purge, we must feel the COVID thing, as the blessing as it is, it made us feel much of this collective blanket that has kept us in the darkness. And we've had to feel it, and it's been painful because we've made comfort in our trauma. But as individuals, we are the collective field. We tend to go, we're insignificant, there's 9 billion other people, blah, blah, blah. This is all based on that 2-year-old with those thousands of dollars. It doesn't see that. It just sees paper. Yet to a 18-year-old, they see thousands of dollars, lots and lots and lots of this. The lots and lots and lots of people is based on a mental projection of illusion. Yes, on one level there are all the... But it is self, and self is that collective field. When we purge it out of ourself, we not only lessen it in every other life form, we lessen it, the veil that it holds over us. We tend to go, if I go out there and march at that thing, which I'm not saying not to, that's great, or if I go and speak at this thing and speak up and, you know, stop and speak up about the war or whatever. But the true undercurrent, the true power is when we realize that these have hooks within us. And this system only is what it is on an external because it mirrors our inner landscape. You know, in that, when we look at it that way, we start to shift that paradigm of being victims and start to realize that we are the powerful co-creators, and they've deceived us. That collective shadow has deceived us to believe we're insignificant. What can we do? We have to do something on a mass level. Just on that, right, in Australia here, they introduced the cane toad, which been a disaster on many levels. Came to eat the cane beetle, didn't eat the cane beetle and took off and it ate everything else. And one thing it started to kill was the crows. They used to come down, try to eat this cane toad. They'd end up dying. Hundreds of thousands of them started dying all over the country. On the eastern coast here, they started to notice at this period in time, cane toad, they started turning the cane toads over and eating out their guts and not touching the poisonous sacs. And in no relationship, they noticed over on the west coast, thousands and thousands of kilometres away, no relationship to these ones that were doing it in these pockets. They started doing it over there. They realised that these birds were part of a collective field, that once these ones started reaching certain critical mass, then it influenced the entire crow population. It caught on in northern, it became everywhere. These birds weren't flying thousands of kilometres to go and show other crows. It was just what, and that's who we are.
About something else as well, where a species figure out something on the side of the world, the other side of the world, they realize the same thing.
That's right. And yet this is the delusion that they've fed to us. It don't affect nothing. It's woo-woo. All these words, it's woo-woo. It's, that's bullshit. Nah, it's like natural medicine. Nah, it's nothing. And they've led us to believe that mainstream pharma has the answers and, chemotherapy, blah, blah, blah. So I feel it doesn't mean my chop wood and carry waters. I'll speak at the rallies. I'll use my voice, my presence, whatever. But I know that the greater, and I don't call it work because it's not a burden, but the greater immersion or the greater awareness of lifting those veils is purging that out within, feeling and inviting that forward, that experience. The Bill Gates and all of those archetypes on the outside are there perfectly trying to push us to a point. It's like a fire. You could say the fire's bad, get rid of the fire. But mob used fire here for thousands and hundreds of thousands of years. They would burn away the old grass and the old residue, invite the fresh new shoots. Without that happening, we're in the trouble we're in today. Everywhere we live around here is meant to be utilised by backburning, The new animals, the new life comes through. Without that, you get less animals, less abundance, less flowers, less seeds that don't germinate. So, that fire, that destruction is a beautiful element of bringing the renewal of consciousness, the renewal of awareness, the true living. How many of us truly know? I know I don't know what it is to live in true relationship with my community to the level where, you're looked after. You look after one another. Not just, we do. I have communities where we support each other, barter, we help out with working bees, we're emotionally there, but true living together in that way that we are, I'd say, living in the Garden of Eden, because it's not about, you don't have to look for food, but everything is in abundance. Mob here, we're living in a Garden of Eden. They had a homeostatic balance where they burned the land, the abundance was there. They had the relationship of understanding. They look at a flower, that's it. The eels are there, they go there, the eels are there in abundance. That flower tells me mud crabs. They go down, there's the mud crabs. Right now we've got the wattle on the tree and it's starting to die off. But when the wattle is in full bloom, it tells you that's when the tailor fish is coming into the ocean out here. When that wattle starts to die off, as it is now, it tells you that's the time to go fishing for it because it's had its eggs. You're not breaking million-year cycles. And 7 generations ahead is experiencing the same abundance that you are right now. Those are the seasonal indicators, internally and externally, that we've replaced with that map, that sterile paper map that isn't living. It's a time-based, produce, colours, flavours, enhancers based life that is, and sickness is just it's not a bad thing. It's a thing going, hey, turn the fuck around, come back over here. This is not where you should be going.
I think it's a lot of it is, I mean, definitely it's experience that is not passed on and it's not taught, and lack of respect to learn it. You know, us as humans, we come out with our decimal system of counting versus like the golden ratio or whatever, and that's what we stick to because this is our thing. If we go on a piece of land, we cut what's there. That's our, whatever, the idea of respect to where you're being positioned, where, who you're sitting with, and be sort of, you have that to deal with. Is there something to be learned? And I think it is so shameful that we are in a place where it's just, there is no connection, no ears. And I think, like you said, I mean, it's a lot of individual, where people need to realize that there is a truth within that they need to find before they search the truth out there. But it's also pointing to whoever we're dealing with, that we remind them that we need to have that respect. We need to have the equality. The whole idea of somebody is way beneath you because whatever, it's just it shows the lack of seeing that, hey, they have a world that you don't know about. That they
Absolutely, yeah.
But I think we're on the cusp of breakage and getting out of that shell.
Yes.
I think part of our build-up is going to be torn down. I think with the unfortunately with the war, around Ukraine or whatever, more lies there.
Deception, yeah.
Yeah. So, and I think the economy is going to be hit. It's actually a lot of places are going through inflation and they're sinking.
Yes.
So
it's scary on one level. It's freaking terrifying, man. On one level, on many levels, but on those levels of going, what do I do? I've got land. I don't want to lose that connection, relationship there, and my girls, to make sure. But I feel these financial structures need to go this way. The threat is that they're trying to take it digital, and it may happen. I don't know. But I more see this other greater spaciousness where these systems need to come to a head, because like that fire, if they don't, then we accept them and we continually keep feeding them rather than go, all right, something else. And we need to, seemingly it's, we need to come to these heads of these things, because unless we come to them, not only do we not change, but we don't want change. We just accept it. That's right. So it's like we got to want change to actually have change, and want change sometimes has to be forced nutrition. Sometimes a gun to your head is going to make you do something more than if there's no gun there. Not that we advocate using a gun,
Yeah, I mean, I would say like a couple of years before COVID or so. To be honest, for the longest time, after I moved to Australia, because that's when I started retiring, slowing down. I was so turned off by the consumerism, how everything is measured.
Yes.
Everything is measured. There's no, you try to be gracious, but after a while you find like, I'll be gracious for a certain amount of time, but hey, mate,
Yes.
whatever. But it's like,
Yes.
it is changing the world. And I felt like, when they were saying, they were expecting something to happen that will, it'll get rid of a lot of people, or there's culling going to be happening. I felt like I'm fine with it, even if I fall as a one of the people who are sacrificed. Because do I want to live in a world where everybody is, dealing from that level?
Yes.
We need something new. We need something that is not of this world,
Yes.
you know, because it doesn't do anything for me.
Yeah.
I've really been, I mean, Matthew would tell you, I'm here all the time. I don't go
Yeah.
out. I like my solidarity.
I mean, yeah.
And I mean, you have a spark because you have children.
Yes.
And you see that, there was some harmony, there was some, connectivity happening. Where for me, it's I don't know. It's like groups scare me. Communities scare me, unless
Yeah.
it's my virtual community. I know someone so whatever,
Yeah.
because everybody's got their agenda. I can't vouch for anyone.
Yeah.
I can't say I'm following so and so.
Yes.
Yeah, they're right about this thing, but who knows down the list how many things they have that are completely
Yes.
off. So it comes back to, yeah, we need to be reborn. We need to find ourselves and be content, because I mean the greed and the lack of contentment is just making everybody's on everybody's throat.
You go to places, and you would possibly be aware of this. You go, and you go to these places that are so-called poverty, and yet they're so rich, in spirit. There's, and they live in community, and they live in a way that their personalities aren't the buffer zones, because a lot of people that I know of, including myself, prefer to live in our satellite little communities, as in we have our property, might have one or two people living there with us at times, or we might go and visit others that we call our community, not living on the same land area. And a lot of that works easier because it's the personalities. We have such a buffer zone here in these so-called privilege. I don't necessarily see privilege as owning more stuff and all of that. And anyway, without going into that, Bob Marley once said, and it's always stuck with me as a really, powerful indicator. Some people are so poor, all they have is money. For me, that reflects a true value system of that 2-year-old with that money. And give it an apple, they'd prefer to eat that apple than hold on to that money. But you go to these places in India or, other places. I haven't been to Africa, or I haven't been to, many places that are supposedly third world. And, there's a richness there of true joy, true happiness. Whereas here, I see it on a level, but a lot of it is impacted so heavily. And yet...
And a lot of it is under influence as well.
That's right. And these... exactly. And these people here come together and there's so much drama. This one's fighting with that one and that one's not doing what that one wants. And they're going, no, it has to be this way. We have such a buffer zone around our ego thing that I feel that part of the collective awakening is also, it's breaking down that buffer that we have.
Virtue signaling.
That's it, virtue signaling. And refining us back to remembering this is the bullshit that has imprisoned us and separated us and stopped it. And I'm quite skeptical and jaded with regards to people. I've experienced beatings and raping and things, but I'm continually softening into that to know my tribe. When I say my tribe, my certain group of people that I feel really, I can just fully let the armor down, unconsciously and consciously. But when I think of community, I'm often like, oh, I don't know about that. In the sense of living on land with personalities and all of those virtue signaling. That's right.
Always politics. You get a bunch of people together. Always
That's right.
politics. But I don't know why is that. I think it's that whole thing with virtue signaling. I mean, it's you have somebody, who's after, promoting something, and it's like, yeah, he's the savior. We don't see the other things, but it's like, what happened to, now we're so advanced that we can really have real, like, democracy, where it's like, we all agree on that one thing. You don't have to get somebody with a slew of things. It's like, I can get along with that.
Yes.
I can live with that. You have Yeah, you get a bunch of people personalities. It's just a
Yes.
bit tough.
Ah,
And yeah, what was the word you used? Entitled.
entitlement. That's
Yeah,
right.
and it's not nothing has to do with the material, but entitled as far as attitude.
I
You know.
deserve and I'm above. And it does come from those origins of disconnection, disassociation. Land, it's below me. Anything that's of nature is below me. I'm up here above the animals. But the reality is, when you have your parameter shaken to the reality, you will fall apart because you will realize that is all smoke and bullshit, because you are no more than that ant. You are no more than that dirt. You are no more than that leaf on that tree. And that whole money, $3,000 to a 2-year-old thing that you've created is imprison you to the point where you believe your entitlement gives you more than every other. But you can see these systems of the shadow are very tricky. They hijack these things and look like these things. Ah, build back better. We're going to build back greener. Everyone's going to be equal. But certain centralized power structures will have everything and we'll have nothing and supposedly be
Yeah,
happy. But they hijack it because they make it look like the very thing internally that they know that they aren't, and they know that we all are. And they make it look that way. It's part of the hypnotism to get people to go that way. We're really out to look after you all. We're trying to vaccinate you all to keep you from this very bad thing that we've created. And
I
now
know. Isn't it
they've
something?
admitted they've created it.
Isn't it something?
It wasn't in nature.
You make a virus stronger, more infective, and more deadly,
Yeah. This
and then you make a jab that deals with that virus that you created and make it more deadly, and you force everybody to do anything you want. I mean, how crazy!
how transparent, but then the level of hypnotism that people, bless them, no, it's not a judgment, it's an observation, still have implanted. If they, the sixth booster, it didn't work for the past 5, you're still getting COVID, but the sixth one, come on. And they go, yep, I'm in line. And, I don't say that as, again, to put people in a box. That is the
No,
level of hypnotism.
I mean, you can't blame them in a way because I mean, we have the specialists, the experts, we put there with trust,
Yes,
so that you don't have to do the research.
yes,
But when you find that the trust is not worthy, you have to do your own research and forget about all this
yes,
stuff. And that's what I feel. It's like I can't trust the government anymore
yes.
unless you. I mean, anybody who does something wrong, you know, if they don't recognize they're doing something wrong, would you be trusting that they wouldn't do it again? They
Yeah.
have to somehow. It's like, hey, we screwed up. It was a mistake. Blame it on somebody,
And
but
if
acknowledge that you
that's
did a
right.
mistake.
If they did that, we'd all be like, okay, we've got something to work with here.
But what can you work with?
It's denial and blame. It must be them, it's and it's like,
Censorship.
that internally is a strong biomarker of that's deception, that's untruth. Bring it into the light. Even here talking about the voice, and part of it, they want voice treaty truth. Mob here, a lot of mob that I know. I'm not saying all mob. I don't speak for them, but a lot of mob want treaty before voice. Treaty is a relationship of respect, whereas this voice is just a constitutional body recognized as an advisory body. You could do that without this. Why you got to go through this obviously underlining entanglements with that? But if you had true relationship with mob and understanding, where you sat in the dirt with the elders, you sat in the dirt, took your shoes off, then again, that's like that honesty. Maybe that's something we could work with. But for me, government, there's none of that. It's always
They
you got to
never do
come to
anything
our
wrong.
offices and we'll get a photo opportunity, or whatever it be. I
We'll
mean,
give you a
what?
bunch of hoops to jump so we
That's
can hear
right.
you. It's like, I mean, you want to be able to deal with First Nations who are not into time, who are not into our, whatever it is that we built and we've mastered.
Yes.
And you have other people speaks different languages, different cultures. Why are those hops that they keep making you jump so hard? Why isn't it simple? Why don't you
Yes.
make things simple? You know,
Isn't that?
doesn't everybody have a voice,
Yes.
or only some people have a voice?
Yes. And that collective voice, as you say, that voice that's represented by not only mob here, because the thing is, no one owns the trees, the stars, the sun, right? And when they say traditional owners, what they're really saying, from my clearest perspective and knowledge from my elders and things, is they're saying that they're the ones that are the keepers of the LORE, the sustainability for all of us to continue on. You've got to learn it. To live in this place, you must learn about this flower. You must learn about time to go fishing. You must learn about time to burn. All of these things. So it gives them the closest thing in a Western conceptual mental of ownership. But they're custodians. And when we're all here, it is our birthright. I do not, because my mum's lineage is thousands, like she does no other bloodline in her. She's just Aboriginal, that's it. So in that, she has thousands of years of her footprints embedded in Victorian country. But the thing is, it doesn't make that she owns it over you. It means that, her ancestors and these people have this knowledge of how you can come into this place and immerse deeply and have identity imbued, rather than be fragmented. I don't know what to do or how to. I just accept the paradigm of we get a job and things like that because I've not been given true responsibility.
I think it's it's impossible, almost impossible for the modern, I guess I can almost call it white man, creation, to understand what can they provide. I mean, they've brought economy, the buying and selling and the whole economy. And that's the way we live. And First Nation didn't live with that.
Yeah.
It's a completely different environment.
Yes.
So I don't know if any of that is preserved, and if it is, or if there is any listening that needs to be done, is understand the culture enough to help that culture
Yes.
have the environment that they require to
Yeah.
exist.
Right.
Not, hey, you got to live the way we live because that's the way we live today.
Yes.
Well, I mean, you ripped me off, right? I mean, it's like
That's right.
you destroy the place,
That's right. Leave all your
And then
rubbish.
you have those machines, and you want us to be just running those machines. It's like,
Here you go.
stop. And it's very difficult to live without it. And to me, even giving money or whatever, it just destroys.
Yes.
It doesn't help.
It doesn't help at all. It's like when they throw money at mob. This is the salute. It's never going to help. This is not about the money. It never is about the money. Man.
It's a separation of the man from the land.
Yes.
It's like whatever it is. It's a
And I
crazy
feel
world.
we can't go back. Well, if we do, it's going to take, as many, many generations of undoing. But we can't keep going. There has to be a fusion. And this is the beauty of us, our body, nature. A tree, starts growing. If a branch comes out from another tree, it doesn't go, oh, that's it, I stopped growing because I've not received the light. It moves to the left. The thing is, we are not a stagnant, we are not a system. This whole society is built on systems of structure that separate us from our flow, that alignment of the internal and the external to dance, where health and joy and wellness and true happiness and peace are a byproduct of that. But when you take these, when we don't have respectful reverence, so, if you had the government that were humbly, as you say, not only going, we fucked up, we messed up really bad, we're sorry, let's work with something together. When you see the government these people of body that are so-called given the power to come and sit with mob in the same stance that they come to these places and sit in parliaments and, these structures, when you start to see that true, I think that people internally will realise that relationship can fuse. It can come together because there's a respectful understanding. I'm not coming going, listen, my privilege or my entitlement gives me more of a standing to speak than your, rather than an equal coming together. You imagine if...
This is the one thing, I'm not sure if that can be done.
Yeah.
I think you need, because it's a different awareness, different mentality. You need to have like a department that knows and understands how to deal with First Nation.
Yeah.
And they meet with different groups. Because you're not going to have those people all around understand. If they're sitting with you in a meeting,
Yes.
nobody will relate to anybody.
And especially...
You have to have special people.
That's right.
But if that case, you need to have trust in those people to spend a lot of time and understand. And they will be the ambassadors.
Yeah.
Ambassador is supposed to be diplomatic.
That's right.
What does the diplomatic mean? It means I understand where you're coming from.
Yes.
Not
Empathy, imbue with empathy. That's right.
Not diplomatic like what's going on with Russia and Ukraine and all of that, where it's like, oh, we're not going to do anything about it. We've got bigger guns or whatever. No,
Yes.
no, it's diplomacy.
That's right.
How can we avoid the war? What is your problem? Why did you invade this country? None of that.
Well, that's all suppressed. Like, even if you just talking on what you just shared there, the massacres that happen here, hundreds of thousands of massacres, and they're all there, but they're not allowed to be brought out in the open. And part of this Voice Treaty Truth is about truth-telling. But it's part of also they're hijacking it and using it and going, and a lot of good people are jumping on to the yes vote, believing this is the way, we've got to give them. But the thing is, what about these... Since when have this general society heard about Murdering Creek over here?
That's right.
Women and children massacred. Yet they still say...
That's the one by Perugian, right?
That's right. Get over it. Move on. Be like the rest of us. Get a job. Stop talking. But if you said that to the Holocaust survivors, get over it. Move on. There'd be a national uproar. If you said that to the diggers, what's that saying? Lest we forget. If you said to them, get the fuck over it. Move on. Stop gathering every 25th of April and talking about this stuff. It's like, yet for mob, you know what I think it is? I think part of that roadmap is they've given the colour black for black people, all negative connotations that have no real substantial rights. Black ball, you're blacklisted, black cats, black magic, Anything that's Black Friday is a negative, ooh, no, push it away. Anything that's light. I mean, Jesus came from a country of brown people, brown eye.
Have you seen that joke on Facebook about Jesus, this guy praying, and then this dark Jesus shows up? It's like, oh, who are you? It's like, I'm Jesus, you just prayed for me. Oh, I wasn't expecting you to be like that. Like, oh, I see. You expected me to be white like this.
Yes.
Oh, yes. I have a surprise for you. I'm from the Middle East.
Oh.
Well, at least you're Christian. Well, I have another surprise for you. I grew up Jew.
It's like how, that roadmap has led, and, I'm not to take it away, but they've got vision, these visual representation of this. It's not the right Jesus, and it's shown, and they know it, they admit it, but yet they don't change it because it still aligns with white is of the light and beautiful and everything is good, but anything black or darker, and this is the purging. We've got this in our subconscious being that guides a lot about, makes us go left when we want to go right in life, and it guides us to make choices to go yes, rather than see the true underlying deception that I witness and feel that's going on with this yes and no.
So do you have like a bunch of reasons, like if the podcast would go live, that for somebody who wants to know what should they do? I mean, you're from First Nation. I mean, you mentioned deception. You know, or it sounds like it's the right thing to do, but it's maybe not.
Yes.
But you can't speak for other mobs.
Yes, that's right.
So that,
And I know, and I don't. I realise my presence here in this earthly time, this born in this form and this lineage. I don't ask people to believe me. I ask them to start feeling within, because that's the internal guide that you've got to go from. But this.
but for some people, feel like you matter because you're impacted. You're the one who should be saying something. I loved what Peter Pham wrote. That it's like, who are we to? We shouldn't say anything. It's not our business.
Yes.
You know. So it's really up to the First Nation. But like you said, there are so many of them. It's not
So
really,
many, and they didn't go on. It was a budget thing, supposedly, that they didn't go and consult with so many. But if it's of such valued importance, you would take that groundwork and that time first. For me, it's many things, and I'll share this. That's with the precipice, that I'm not here to get people to believe me. So, you can investigate that however you wish. For me, I've seen, it's been multi-layered. I've had to see and move through the suspicion and the guardness that is up, because we took away the children because that was going to help you all. We put you on missions because that was going to help you all. We gave you this Bible because that was going to help you all. We gave you jobs because that was going to help. Look at it, still the highest rate of suicide in the world, highest rates of incarceration, lowest life expectancy amongst populations of the world. And these are the true indicators. But the thing is, it's another thing. We're here to come in and we're going to fix it. We're going to bring a solution. You didn't go and talk to all them elders. You didn't go and speak to them mob. You got some specialised picked ones. And other mobs use the term cherry-picked ones that speak. But the ones that are doing quite well in the system, what about the ones out in community that are truly not getting that care, not getting that, feeling in the fold of the... To me, this is another part of the assimilation, another strand of assimilate into our system. Why is it that the oldest living continuous culture, which still has sovereignty, never ceded, and still here has strong relationship with law, L-O-R-E, and L-A-W. The difference between those law is that relationship with that natural world, and the law is how you conduct yourself with that L-O-R-E. That's the law that you get. You must not harm those animals or those trees, because that L-O-R-E informs us of that law. Anyway, why should mob have to go to these places and be recognised under a constitution? Because they got the bigger guns? Because they got the bigger industry?
That's right.
This is not true.
It goes to the same thing where, if you don't have anything, you don't count. Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
You got nothing to barter with. We got nothing that sees you as of that. So we're still paternalistically telling you what to do, with the illusion of the veneer of a choice, But then that choice is made by those that aren't even of your lineage, as well. Which I don't create division. We talk from an observational point. Other factors are this sense of treaty. Many mob have gone to ask this so-called Labor government, we want to talk about it more, and
Not much detail.
We don't want to talk about it. We'll tell you after. So you buy a car.
That was my first thing. There wasn't much detail. It's like, yes, no.
And they're not going to talk about it. They investigate. We're not getting into that. That's what they continually keep saying. We'll tell you the details after. So you go and buy a car. Yeah, listen, you buy this car and I'll tell you if there's something right or wrong with it later. The details is in... No. This is, again, part of that lie, or that thing of never taking responsibility. In your core, something's not right. But we're told you got all these other forces going, stop that. They're telling us it's good. Go with it. Do it. Like the jab. Go with it. Good. And now how many have gone, I didn't want to do that. I shouldn't have done that. And many of us that were stood in our own light against that whole, what felt like tidal waves thrown at us, You know, and
That
now
was criminal. It was
criminal.
It just amazes me. We
Amazes
we
me.
don't see it as such, you know.
But many of us now know, well, when I say many of us, many I know, now look at it and go, sovereignty will be ceded. We come under this constitution, we have no more sovereign governance, no more footing to stand on. You'll take that last snip because you've taken our kinship, you've taken our connection to nature, you've taken our relation, you've taken everything and assimilated. This will be the
You know,
last
the
one.
kids.
The kids, you took our children, everything. You've now, we've assimilated to such a point where we're still not able to even get an understanding of how to live in this world properly. But now you've gone and pushed this one. This will be the nail, I feel, the nail in the coffin. You know, and they say, oh, it won't take sovereignty, it won't. But you're not getting any details to share.
Yeah.
So many go, this is what's happening. And you're not sharing anything to show that it's not. You've got this one-page document. You say it's one page, but it's actually, I don't know how many pages that...
The Uluru.
That's right.
Yeah, yeah.
Of the heart, statement of the heart.
I mean, it looks nice, and to me, it seemed like, yeah, it'll give you a voice. But, you know, talking to you and just looking with distrust to the government, all that, there isn't much details. They're not saying to me, it's like, what's there now and how it's going to be. It is so important.
Yes.
We need to know. But then when I read Peter Phan's post, and he basically was saying, you know, because you were here before the white man came. Well, they didn't say white man, but you were here first. So you know, you have your languages, you have everything.
Yes.
Agreeing on something can lock you down into whatever it is.
Yes.
So unless the treaty is well understood,
Yes.
don't agree on anything, because you have the primary. You've been here first.
Yes.
That's the bottom line. And you're still here, and you still exist. You still practice who you are.
That's right.
You know. So
amidst all the colonization, amidst all the assimilation, amidst all the damage, the massacres, the children taken away, the rapings. I mean, all those light-skinned children, they were mass rapings of our women. You know, I say our women is in, that trauma belongs to a collective of human species, but women, so they not only raped them, they took the children away from them as well.
that is amazing.
You know, that pain and intergenerational trauma that lives in my family line and lives in many mob families is not new though. What came to these shores was the same trauma they were doing to the Scottish, the Irish, all of it. And this is the thing that...
It's a history of a lot of invasions, a lot of treaties, and a lot of betrayal of the treaties.
Yes, that's right, hey.
It keeps repeating. And I see it happening over and over, and it keeps the same story.
That's right.
Keeps repeating.
And so, you know, when they say it's a good thing, you'll have a voice. No. You know, you want to guarantee that car that you're buying is workable. That's the treaty, to know that it works and that there's a respectful exchange. Because unless you tell me the details, unless I know there's a treaty there, that voice means nothing. That's the contract that I've just signed it over to you, and you've paid for it. But I can default on that any time. That's right.
We own you now.
You know? But this is the system you're dealing with continually, and it reflects that deception. You know, with the COVID stuff, they got it completely wrong. Yet I've not heard any of them go, this government or any... So we're very... I think I had one woman, I think it was in Canada, was a governor or something, came out and apologised to the people. But other than that...
Yeah, in Canada. It was head of one of the states.
Yes.
But they're very progressive, I think. But yeah, it's
but
amazing.
None others.
Trudeau is just not...
Well,
yeah.
Klaus Schwab
can't hear his people.
That's right. And, you know...
Calls them names.
That's right.
You know, it's like...
You know,
if you can't have ownership of your own people, that means you're not for them.
Aren't they, you know? And that's the skewed part of the reality too. Those people are there to serve the collective, you know. They are elected to be there, not to dominate and tell this is the way it's going to be, and you're going to fall into line with it. You know, this is a system that varies. My mother's people were matriarchal, right? They were guided by the women. You know, some were guided by the patriarchy, and in that, so it was decided by many levels of understanding. And there's so much fragmentation and because so much was damaged. But from what I understand, it was the certain animals, the certain lay of the land, the certain relationships of the trees, and everything that decided who was to be the ones that spoke. We go this way now. And it wasn't that they stood above. It was they were given the responsibility to listen to everyone. And to take in accordance in the most clearest, undiluted, unfragmented way that gave the clarity of that flower's communicating through us, that star, everything is, and we have this consciousness to serve that, as opposed to, we are here and we're the mate, we're going to tell you men, or
we know better than you.
That's right.
I'll tell you what you need to do. Yeah. I don't know how long this is. It's only 2 hours. We can.
It's good.
I don't know if you.
I was going to go to the toilet for a second.
Oh yeah.
I'll do that one.
For sure. Erica's here now.
That's
and
right.
It's like getting everybody fast still. And then somebody inspired me. I didn't realize you can go out in the bush and live in the bush.
Yes.
So that I looked for a place with trees. And I wasn't really thinking, I mean, this is way beyond what I was thinking. I was just thinking of, like, you know, a little gazebo or something, just to, you know, whatever. Because to me, I see time is you get a lot more connecting with life around you from time than it is, you know, going out doing whatever we do.
Yes.
Takes our attention, whatever. But I'm very grateful.
And you realise that all that going out there, which you do to support your in here, becomes more at times than the being here. So you go, you know, I saw a meme, and I mean, it's not reflective of my life, and parts of it a little bit are, but not really. You know, people drive their cars an hour to get to work for 8 hours and leave their empty house that they're still paying hundreds of thousands of dollars off, and then they're paying off their car.
More than an hour.
Which they spend, you know, it's like they're never in their life, but they're paying for all these things to support, and then they get towards and they realise their retirement, not only, you know, the common paradigm, they're too old to do much at all, but they realise they can't unwind that mode of apparatus that is always getting to somewhere to do. So they can't really sink into that moment. So then they get sick. And what's the sickness do? Makes them sink into the moment. And it's like, I don't need that sickness. I needed to just absorb into the moment. And maybe I could have avoided all of that. My dad, I absolutely loved the man. I said to him, he worked for 56 years, you know, and he just retired year before last. And I said, Dad, you spent like 5 days a week, sometimes 6 days, in a factory as a fitter and turner, work in your life. That had more of you in your waking hours than anywhere else. Would you have liked to have gone fishing a bit more? No. Obviously internally, and I have respect for him, that's his choice. He internally had, that's it, that's his lot. Whereas for me, I couldn't do that. You know, we can do anything, but I couldn't bring myself to live that same. I'm here trying to expand as much as I can to have more of the moment with my girls, with my friends, with myself, with nature, with that ant, with that leaf, with that grass. But it seems like it takes a lot of things to try and keep that there. And the more you're there, the more you want. I don't want to. You said you've been here a lot. I haven't been yearning to want to go. Jandamara, we'll fly for your airfare to come to Melbourne. Nah, thank you. And you know, it would be 10 grand or something. But there's certain things, you know, that just like I weigh up and go, it's just not worth all of that to be away from this, you know. This is truly, I've arrived. We've arrived. This is it. This is the gold. And that roadmap is losing any of its enticity that they've given me a goal out there somewhere that is elusive, because you're never truly... To try and fill a void that never existed is based on an illusion that you are a void in the first place.
Well, I mean, there is a track record,
Yeah.
you know, of what is going on, and you know, you can follow that. You can only go so far, but once you have the taste of the real thing, it's hard to go back.
Yes.
And we're fortunate that we have a taste of that.
Yes.
I mean, we do adapt, and you know, I always feel like I could have been anybody. You know,
Yeah.
I am here. You know,
You could have been still on that, as you say, that treadmill, hey? Like,
I could have been. I
Wow.
could have been.
I was
But
there at one time.
And it's all about, you know, whatever opportunities, whatever I can afford, whatever. You know, I mean, I've given more than 45 years of work. We're not talking, you know, like with breaks in between. No, working all the way through.
yeah.
You know, I mean, when you're saying Matthew used to wake up when when I'm already gone to work, and I
Yes.
come back when it's dark.
Yes.
You know, that was a typical day in the States.
Yeah.
It was hustle and bustle. But yeah, once you taste that, it's like, and it's really hard nowadays to advise like the kids, what would they want to be? What should they pursue? I mean, to me, with Matthew, it's like, you got to find what fulfills you.
That's
you know?
right, hey?
Because I've been there. It's not, I mean, when you haven't been there, it's like, oh, maybe this will give it to me, you know, and you
Yes.
pursue it. But, you know, I worked for a very well-known organization. I was given excellent benefits, but I had intentionally that by 50, I want to start slowing down, and that's what got me here.
Yeah.
But yeah, it is not what it looks.
Yes.
You know, it's a, you know, it is more beautiful to have a connection and see eyes that are watery because of a heart connection and something meaningful, and even work hard and do whatever, but you are with the moment. You are, you know, it's not like just put everything on hold, do your time, and then go back. Do your time, then go back. It just doesn't give you anything.
Yes.
You know, yeah, I'm able to afford it now. I mean, I'll use what I'm able to
Yeah.
use.
And it is a reality, you know.
Yeah,
You
it is a
can't just... Well, maybe you can. Maybe... You know, I saw this on What the Bleep Do We Know, you know, and it was like...
It's a good one.
It was, you know, the woman was looking one way. When she'd turn around, she'd hear all these basketballs bouncing behind us, this young boy. She'd turn back around and look at this there'd just be one boy there bouncing. And it showed that every time she turned the opposite way, the field of opportunity is vast. It's so expansive that the mind it's like wave, you know, ripples on the ocean. Yet when she turned around, her consciousness and what it was shaped into would focus on one outcome. He was just bouncing the ball. Yet when she turned around, he'd be dunking it, bouncing it, putting it up, you know, sitting on it. Infinite possibility, but we are so... And when I say we have blinkered ourselves to the point where our reality is very hard to find. And we're breaking away those paradigms. And so there are places I'm sure you could land. And you don't need money and all that. But I've not experienced them. And I don't know many people around me that have experienced it. So in a level you've got to engage in it. I was working for the Department of Social Security in Melbourne and St Kilda on 5 days a week, forms, you know, dealing with customers and about to buy a place on the beach and, you know, had a car, and I was at the pinnacle of reaching what is told that you've made it. I was like, man, a level of...
Can you go back there again?
Oh, I can visit it. It's a beautiful little...
I'm in the job.
Yeah, no, that's the thing. To me, even doing one day of that job, it's just...
It's a killer, hey?
It's a killer. I realise what living is for me. But then I don't then go, you've got to take this paradigm for you. My mum is the CEO of an organisation, has 700 employees under, still works away, just constant, and that's, I don't know, that maybe that works for him. That worked for my dad, seemingly. You know, the man is a nature-loving, he walks, he connects, he relates, he's very natural, but yet working in a fittering and turning for 8 hours a day, 5 days a week, six at times 6. Like, wow, man.
I mean, we are not all wired the same, so you know, people will be doing different things, will want different things. So, you know, whatever I used to do, I mean, it was what I was comfortable doing at the time. Looking at, I mean, because you get it put into this workforce world at a certain age, and it's like, what do you want to do? I mean, it's not like you own
Yes.
your time in a way. I mean, you do, but for you to be able to eat something or to sleep somewhere, you got to do something. So,
One thing I've noticed, if you don't mind me sharing, you know, conversations with my girls are all open. I share with them, I don't own you, this sense of ownership because come into my life. I'm a custodian. I support you with guidelines how to navigate this reality, but you have this whole within you. The teacher standing at the front of the classroom does not have more authority than you. They have an accumulation of stuff that they're trying to share with you, but doesn't make them more important or above you. And I say, I don't care whether you get an A or an F, whatever that is. My relevance is that you live by your joy inside and your biomarker. There are times where it might feel you have to sometimes compromise with that a little, but don't ever let go of it. And understand that that relationship is your greatest reference point throughout your life and living. And hopefully, see, there's this thing that the roadmap, when I say the roadmap, see, when I praise them because they read good or the intellectual stuff, you know, the mathematics, the English, that praising for me is not, I might say, oh, it's good reading, really good. I make a point of really praising them on their behaviours and their actions, more so they see that as they grow, those things are more accountable. How you treat your sister, how you speak to me, rather than you're smarter, you know, and priming them to be the worker, you know, and seeing that is going to be their value systems more based on their relationship with the physical world around them. And when I say praise, supporting them to see that, man, this is what you internally, after I'm returning back into the earth, you take with you is that you go, I did a really good job in speaking to that person. I did a really good job standing up when I feel fear or courage, you know, as opposed to I'm amazing because I know how to read, I know how to, my mathematics. They are secondary and lesser. They are part of a reality that allows me to navigate, but they are not part of the reality of my value system on who I am and my identity. So I make a point a lot of time. Like I take my girls, I've shared with you, I think you might have seen some of my sharings, take them out one day a week from school, which they are in a public school, a little community school, but we walk on country and they learn to forage and they learn to make fire and they learn to weave, and those things of relationship. Not only if stuff starts to fall away, they can have a bearing of, I got some kind of idea here, but also they go, this physical reality has much more than this conceptual paradigm that, you know, I'm pretty much owned by this roadmap that they give me, you know, because I can see in schools, as much as there's good teachers and good individuals, it's a priming to become a worker.
Yeah.
You know,
it's indoctrination for sure.
Indoctrination, right?
But I'm like you. It's just, and I express it to my.
My window's down there,
Do you
brother.
have any?
My window's down there.
All right. I was gonna say how. Yeah. Like for example, my eldest, he was, you know, pursuing something, and he was getting excited every time he passes. It's like, good job, you know, whatever, you know. But no, he was like, oh, I thought you would be excited more than that. It's like, I'm not.
Yeah.
You know, to me, when I see something that is of you, not you know, going, then I get excited.
Yes.
It means a lot more. You know, you can't take an experience away and a skill, you know, whatever. But that person, it's like you can see it sometimes. People playing music, they can be perfect playing music. It's like, I'm gonna go do whatever. And then you see somebody who's somewhat okay, whatever, but they're in it.
Yeah.
Then you're like, that is nice, you know.
Yes.
And that's what it's about. It's like
Yeah.
we need to focus on this versus
Yes.
how the skill is to the dot, whatever.
It's like anything, eh? You
Yeah.
do a painting, you have poetry, or whatever, living your life. Living your life where it's of substance, you know, and something of substance that is imbued with an authentic, you know, vulnerable relationship of, you know, allowing. Like, for me, doing art isn't about creating a beautiful piece. There might be an end product, but it's really an invitation to see that vibration that transcends paint, canvas, wood and staple.
It's getting a bit wet. Probably. Maybe it's a message that we should start wrapping up.
And those things, man, you know, if it was the mere thing of it, you know, it's empty, it's sterile, you know, and I think that's what even government, if they showed a level of some kind of substance, I would be one of the first, or one of the ones to stand there and go, okay, I'm here, I work with this, but otherwise, you don't represent me, you come from these places of, and I'm not judging you, but you come from these places of sterile experiences. These Catholic, you know, these schools, these prime things to prime you to where you are now, that breed it out of you, this real authentic, you learn how to lie, you know, with your mouth, but keep your body language saying that I'm not. I care about you, you're good people, you know, yet these words are deceptive.
Yeah.
They learn.
And the smile and the whole thing. It's amazing how easy they do that too. I just, and the with the lies and everything. I don't know how people do it. I just don't know how people do it.
You get to a point where you no longer listen to your spirit, or no longer acknowledge that you have this biomarker. You know, when there's a flood or a cyclone or a really heavy disaster, you know, the funny thing is, you know, you'd think that everyone would just go, it's me and mine, as we have a lot in this. But that's when it really pushes people to remember. All the shit disappears. They'll jump into a raging torrent. They'll run into that burning building. They'll dive into that rubble that's crumbling to go and save, because they see themselves infallibly in that other person, and they're like, holy wow, and they feel so alive. Yet their whole journey of working is, they feel half dead. It's like, as you say, a musician that's just playing for the sake of the music, but they're imbued with them in it. And then when they're in it, they're alive. It's like, I'm dancing with this flow. Holy wow, this is living. I have a conversation of substance.
Yeah, we need more of them, and I think we should get together again. I think we have a lot of things that we haven't talked about.
Yes.
Would you like to say something before we wrap it up?
Oh man, I think a lot of
brought this.
Yeah, well, I'd like to. It would be in the beginning, but we kind of eased into it very gently.
I would like to apologize. I'm so bad with rituals or you know, that kind of stuff, and I you know, again, this is my first time, so
it's
hopefully
cool. Well, maybe we can.
I
can use these and share an acknowledgement, and you can edit or use it in however, you know, the way that you wish at the beginning.
So we can take that part, put it in the beginning.
I mean, I feel like our conversation naturally is of that intention, you know, and it's not.
And that's what I wanted it to be, something that's just flowing without structuring it in a way, and just because I think a lot of people enjoy when it's a real conversation where I'm interested to know about something. You're telling me what it is, and I'm reacting
Yes.
to it. It's more. It touches more people than somebody's just saying stuff all the time, and
Yes.
even though it's beautiful as well.
That's right.
There are different words for it. You say yarn, and my teacher, the teacher I used to follow used to call it satsang, which is it's
Yes.
a Indian word,
Yes.
and yeah, everybody's got a way to express. But anyhow,
That's right. And
your floor.
and just on that note of finishing, we spoke all about the parameters of it, but I think it's that thing of coming back to remember that there is no 9 billion people, there is no other, the eye cannot look at itself, but it sees itself reflected in everything around it, and we lose sight of that reality to the point where we start to judge it, and we start to determine it on that paradigm. We start to remember that we are everything. Remember that there is no Yusuf and there is no Jandamara here. There's a dialogue happening, but that dialogue is part of the eternal, never born, never die dialogue. And, when you connect with that, it's such a beautiful thing to realize that there really is nowhere to go. There really is nothing to do. You still chop wood and carry water to do your life, but the love affair of now is the reality, and nothing can, I don't know, distract from that as much as it tries to. Yeah, your way. Right. So yeah, I always love to share with an acknowledgement. No one owns the stars, the sun, the ocean, the dirt. We all belong to that, and in that belonging, the Gubbi Gubbi Kabi Kabi mob have looked after and lived in relationship for over 2,000 generations, with ceremony, with dance, with song, with kinship, relationship, and understanding that this natural law, L-O-R-E, is that identity. It isn't it is who we are. It is who we are on the fundamental level, universal level of all beings on this planet. So when I bring these sticks together, which are made from the mulga wood on this country here, you could say they're just sticks. And when they come together, it's just noise. And the words that I'm speaking now are just words. But you get to that level where how far do you take it? That's just a song. That's just a child. That's just that. It's the intention behind it, and the intention why I bring these sticks together is to announce myself and respectfully honour the footprints that we sit in, or the mum prints, our bottom, that we sit in, that have been here for thousands of generations, as we, as co-custodians with the original traditional mob here, walk with sacred reverence. So I acknowledge the Gubbi Gubbi Kabi Kabi mob as the traditional custodians that have walked on, and held ceremony here for thousands of generations, and kept that law alive and abundant for many of us to enjoy and have relationship with today. Your way.
Thank you, Jandamarra.
Thank you, my beautiful brother.
It's very good to have you here and give us some of your time, and we hope we do this again.
Would enjoy that very much, brother. Your way.
Well, I hope you enjoyed Jandamarra, and I hope we'll be coming to you with more exciting podcast. I'd like to thank Matthew for filming this. And we'll see you soon. Have a great day.